Good evening, everybody. It's another episode of the NFC East Show here on Northeast Streaming Sports Network and Zodiac TV. We're back, and I'm back. Yeah, of course, a little bit less paint, a little bit less sticking up, and everything. Sorry I had to miss last week, but that was a great football game that I was watching. So.
The football.
Different type of football, but it's sometimes you got to do what you got to do. How is everybody?
I'm good. I'm in a undisclosed location somewhere in Arizona, and
Area 51.
Yes.
Yeah, and every time I think of somebody like an undisclosed location in Arizona, I think of that. Since we're like movie gurus, I think of that movie with Steve Martin. You know what I mean? Where he was like a mobster that got sent away. And
yeah.
I'm
trying to think of name. Great movie.
Yeah, but since I know that it'll show up to us somewhere, so I know that Sneaky G is doing his thing out there in Arizona, where he was originally from. And learned how to become a Giants fan out there. So he's going back to his old roots.
Die hard Giants fan. Yes,
Interesting.
So, listen, I wanted to give a quick preface to everybody, to all of our watchers. Keith Engel is part of TGI Sports, is not a Washington Redskins fan. He loves football. He knows a lot about the NFC East. However, he is a New England Patriots fan. But we have had a really difficult time finding any Washington fan who was able to come on and talk with us and be able to handle this spot. So I don't want you to think that we got a fugazi Washington guy. We've got somebody who's really able to kind of talk NFC East. He knows the sports, and he took on the Washington football team role, which is why he calls them the Redskins all the time, because he's old school. So just so that everybody knows, if you know of somebody who is a Washington guy and is able to hang with us a little bit, he's more than welcome to reach out to me, and I will definitely consider it. We'll talk, and we'll see what we can make happen.
Wait. We gotta put him through the rigmarole, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. They don't just get a free pass.
And I'm really not looking to jump. I just want to be clear. I know my Washington football history, but I just want to make sure we're all on the up and up, because you guys bleed your teams.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I bleed my team.
And I know I've been seeing some of the messages coming through saying, "Hey, Keith is a Washington guy. He's the Washington guy." I mean, so I understood, and we knew what we were getting into, and we thought, this is, hey, listen, when you can't find somebody, you can't find a real fan, you find somebody who at least knows a lot about the team. So that's the way we went.
There's one thing I'll say about Keith. He is a football fan. And right. Keith, I admire you for that. Just the knowledge that you were spitting. This is episode 5 or 4? What is this?
This is 5.
5, yeah. The last 4 episodes. I could have not have spoken for another team as eloquent and as knowledgeable as you, Keith. So, hey, tip of the hat to you, sir.
I appreciate that. And, I got to hang with you guys because you know the history of your teams. And I got to, I can hold my own with most of the teams. I mean,
right.
If I was in here with the number one team in my heart, it'd be a lot simpler.
Right.
It'd probably be a lot nastier here too, but.
Well, listen, the Patriots have had a couple of good years. Just because they drafted a halfway decent quarterback. But before that, I don't remember the Patriots doing much of anything except losing in Super Bowls by a lot.
Not for 40 years before it, right?
And to be fair, okay, not only drafting someone, but having a specific rule in place at a perfect time I think that's what. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Patriots. I'm just saying, I've been following football since '89, like hardcore following football, and that was the first time I ever heard of the tuck rule. To be fair,
I've never heard of tuck rule before that night myself, and I go back a little further than 1989, as we talked about last week. So,
right,
it was advantageous.
Hey, listen, you got to start somewhere, and that all dynasties start off sometimes with a lucky bounce. That just so happened to be a lucky,
call. Well, I don't. It was a rule. It wasn't a lucky call. It was just a rule that was in place that appeared in 2001. So, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, the one thing I will say, True Blue. I was quite educated. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was '92 when Leon Lett touched that field goal after Miami when they missed it. I didn't know. I was not aware that they got another try after that. That's something I never heard about.
Well, actually, they got a first down because of that. That was actually
that's right. Yeah. Yep.
There was no time left on the clock. They had to kick the field goal again.
Yeah, that was the old Thanksgiving game.
Thanksgiving in snow, wasn't it? True Blue? Yeah.
There was that was back at the old Arlington Stadium, correct?
Irving, yeah. Arlington's where it's at now.
Right, more north. It was more north. It doesn't snow in Arlington very often. So,
and now it's rubble and dirt.
So this week, I figured since we're all getting ready to go to the draft, that we need to talk about drafts of the past. And I did a little bit of research and I pulled up
what
clips.
Wait. Okay, James, Philly Sports Guy, I need to know exactly when you did the research so I can mark this on my calendar.
Oh, well, you're going to find out right now because you're going to see. I pulled up some clips of things that happened in the past, most recent past, and I was able to kind of figure out, like, okay, who was a really good pick for each one of the teams. And since I wasn't sure if you were going to come on today, Sneaky, I'm going to start with you and your pick. I'm sure you'll be very happy that I chose this one for you.
Oh boy.
With the 23rd pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Evan Engram.
Don't do it.
Tight end.
Yep, I knew it. I knew you were going to do that.
Well, there's happy times for Evan Engram.
I knew it. I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to. And okay,
I know how much you love that guy and love him on your team.
Well, I did vote for him in the Pro Bowl. Okay, so a lot of you don't know about the story. That was Reese's pick. If not, I don't know if it was his last one. 2017. I think that might have been his last one. And yeah, it was. Anyway, we were trying to not get Evan Engram, but we were trying to go after Holmes during that draft. But apparently Reese either didn't have the resources to give up, because remember, Kansas City traded up to get Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
And we were trying to get ahead of him. It didn't happen. I think we stayed at 24, I think it was.
23.
23.
Yeah. Oh, wow, I was off by one. I'm getting good. And the rest is history. And then 3 years later, he's a liability for 6 interceptions and a fumble. But who's counting, right? Who's counting?
He did have a decent rookie year, though. I mean,
he was our leading receiver.
At the time, it was not a bad pick.
Yeah.
No.
It actually was a pretty good pick. So maybe he'll grow into his body at some point.
We've been saying that for the past 4 years, Jamie. 4 years.
And there you have it. So, hey, listen, and like I said, it was also it was hard to try to find. I really wanted to try to find when some of the old players came in to do their picks. So, and when I found the Washington one, I was, it took me a little bit to find it because I couldn't find the Giants one. The Giants, for some reason, have not had many old players announce their picks. So I figured that you would know a little bit about it, but I wasn't able to.
Right.
I wasn't sure what was going on, so I figured Evan Ingram would be a great fill-in for you guys.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, if you ever look at the old, was it Pete Rozelle? Back in the day when he would announce Phil Simms and the Lawrence Taylors, the first round, it wasn't even done. Obviously, it wasn't the draft or what it was today, or even 10 years ago.
It was at the Hilton Hotel.
Yeah. No players showed up. They just announced it, and I can't remember what. I think it was Banks mentioned that he didn't even know he was drafted until the next day. There was some. I can't remember what that story was, but those were good times back then. And they were all smoking in the lounge.
Yeah, it was a whole different scenario back then. So, but like I said, once they started to do the drafts and move the drafts and other places, it really made for a lot more fun. I mean, because obviously Philadelphia was really the first time they had moved it to somewhere else, and and then in Dallas after that, and then like I said, obviously Nashville, and then it was supposed to be in Vegas last year, and unfortunately, COVID kind of caught us. So, Vegas will be next year, and of course, we're going to Cleveland this year. But here was a pick. I think it was in the 2019 draft for the Washington football team.
To announce the Washington Redskins selection, please welcome from Texas A&M Kingsville, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 1996 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year, and Pro Football Hall of Famer Darryl Green.
That's quite the resume for Darryl Green.
Hey, shout out to the Redskins Nation.
Good people right there.
And the Mason Nation back home as well. With the 76th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, my Washington Redskins select Terry McLaurin, wide receiver, Ohio State. Go Redskins.
Well, you talk about some legit.
And I thought that was a really good pick as well. I've been a big fan of McLaurin. He's torched the Eagles a little bit, but I've actually chosen him every season since I watched that first game against the Eagles. He's been on my fantasy football team ever since.
He has really grown into be a nice player for sure, and I think he's going to get better yet. Remember the quarterbacks he's put up the numbers he's put up so far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that same was
you can sit over here.
Yeah, it's like I said, I just from game one, because they started out with the Eagles for the last 2 seasons in the first game of the season, and they took off. They were ahead in that game in 2019. They scored the first 21 points. I mean, we were down a lot going into half. It came back to win that game, 38-25, I think it was, or 27. But they had come out and was just crushing us. And McLaurin had 2 touchdowns in that very first game. So I thought that was a great pick. Like I said, when I went back, plus when you have Darryl Green making the selection, that was pretty good.
Darryl Green's one of the great players.
Oh, and he's probably still the fastest man in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
He might be the fastest guy if he played for the Redskins today. He might be the fastest guy.
I don't know. He might be tied with McLaurin.
Yeah, well, that's
McLaurin's pretty quick. You know what I mean? So I thought it was very appropriate when he chose him. So
now that I think about it, I would have loved to seen Darryl Green in his prime and Michael Vick at his prime in a race, just 100 yards. That would have been a good pay-per-view right there.
Yeah,
Green.
I agree with that.
Green would have took him.
I would.
I think so.
I would take Darryl Green over anybody you want to put up against him. I think.
Yeah.
I really would.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah, maybe not Deshaun Jackson, and when he was
Johnson from the old Tennessee Titan running back.
Oh, what? Chris Johnson? Is it Chris Johnson you're thinking of?
I believe so.
And ran the 2,000 yards?
Yeah, he had the 4.24 in the camp.
Yeah.
Well, you had an Olympic sprinter on your team too, True Blue, and Bullet Bob Hayes. So I mean, actually giving him a run for his money.
Yeah, I actually saw Green when he was playing there at Texas A&M Javelinas. Texas A&I Javelinas, actually.
A&I, right.
I was gonna say we had an Olympian. We had an Olympian on our team, but I think he was a skier and he didn't stay for very long.
So, you had a bobsledder on your team, didn't you? Olympic bobsledder, Herschel Walker.
Well, we would say we were on. He was on both of our teams.
Yeah, and he was with the Giants for a year too.
There you go. So he hit all the NFC East.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Oh my God, that's right. That trade with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was going. Yeah.
That's how they got their rings. That's how they got their rings.
Absolutely.
That's why he's being inducted this year.
But and then this was probably at the time was the first time that there was a troll done on a pick, and it was done in Philadelphia.
Drew Pearson.
To announce the Dallas Cowboys selection, please welcome the University of Tulsa wide receiver Drew Pearson.
All right. How about them Cowboys? I want to thank the Eagle fans for allowing me to have a career in the NFL. Thank you. I am honored as an undrafted free agent to be selected to make the Cowboys second-round draft pick. And on behalf of the five-time world champion Dallas Cowboys, Hall of Fame owner Jerry Jones.
Yeah, he could have kept all that.
Family, Coach Jason Garrett, all the Cowboy players that played before me, that played with me, and played after me, with the second pick and the 60th pick in the second round. The Dallas
Yep, he messed up.
defensive back from Colorado, Chidobe Awuzie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see how shiny that dome was? He shined that thing up before he went out there.
Absolutely.
Well, I did notice a lot of rust on that Super Bowl ring. I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh. So not to be outdone.
Sorry, True Blue. I had to.
You know, I had to come out and say, okay, well, since we were going to do that one, we have to do the ultimate return fire, which worked out so much better when we went down to Dallas to get out there. Because you heard all the Eagles fans booing Drew Pearson like nobody's worse. And you know what? They said that the commissioner loved that because it was the first time he heard somebody get booed louder than him. So it was one of those times where the commissioner was like, "Yeah, do whatever you want to do because you got the stage and you're going to get it worse than me."
and Drew Pearson was actually feeding off of those boos, so that's what kept.
Oh, yeah, I mean that's evident. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think he spoke more words there than Goodell spoke all night. That was the longest introduction into a pick I'd ever seen.
Yeah, it did seem to trail on a little bit, but like I said, it was the first time. It was the first time for that, and it wound up
the trainer.
It wound up pretty good. So, but again, not to be outdone, going to show our pick that we had the following year.
Here we go right now. We got a kicker with a pick.
The Indianapolis Colts have traded their 49th pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. To announce the Philadelphia Eagles selection, please welcome from the University of Louisville, kicker David Akers.
What's up, Dallas?
Kickers chose the Cowboys.
I'm standing up here as an undrafted free agent. Representing that for 15 years. Tonight, I'm representing the Philadelphia Eagles. NFC East champs, divisional champs, and
I love that. I love that.
We are welcome into the Eagles.
Look at Doug.
Oh, you see that Lombardi trophy? Look at that.
Pick in the 2018 draft, the NFL would like to represent the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas Goedert. Oh. He is the tight end from South Dakota State. Go Birds!
Nice pick.
That was funny.
Dallas. And named Dallas.
What a way to stick it to him.
Yeah, it really wasn't sticking to it.
Well, I'm just saying, drafting a player to the Philadelphia Eagles, especially after they won the Super Bowl, and the person they're drafting is named Dallas. That's what I mean by
and jumped right in front of the Cowboys to get him because they also knew that they were looking for him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that part I didn't know. Yeah.
It was a good thing I was grabbing a beer at that time.
I thought I saw you in that shot right there in the front.
No,
You know what?
that
I
was my
tried.
buddy Prime.
I tried very hard to find True Blue in the shots at any of the Dallas picks, and I couldn't find him. However, if you go look up at the 2019 Dallas draft, you see him on a couple of thumbnails. That he was the main guy in the picture of the thumbnails. So, but not in the draft. Not like this handsome guy.
All right, check out the Pepsi draft tweets at the bottom of your screen. There's the Eagles fans. That's the sun setting in the Nashville sky. And that's the dulcet tones of the house band blaring out Aria. I'll give you traffic and weather together as well on the 8th.
It's a pretty ironic song, if you ask me, Rich.
Why is that?
Because I think you're about to cry out here pretty soon. You know what? Testing your religion, Rich.
You're not wrong.
There he is. That's a very handsome guy if I ever saw one right there.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
The first round, they didn't do that. They've got an opportunity now with only one running.
Yeah, probably the most handsome guy that you'll see in that entire draft.
Did you get a little dizzy? Because you kind of like. Did you get a little dizzy there?
Nope. I don't ever get dizzy. I don't ever get dizzy. I don't ever get hoarse.
That's a good.
Oh man! I bet you don't ever get. You know exactly how I was going to go with that.
I knew exactly where you were going. It took me a second, but it got.
Man.
I understood. So,
I know one Philly fan went hoarse, or should I say hoarse? Shh, I'll stop.
And there you go.
That's why when I drink enough Miller Lite to get me going.
Right.
So anyways, as we're talking about this and we're showing those clips, and it's fun to kind of see those types of clips and stuff like that. I wanted to ask, especially like starting off. Obviously, I was never really a big draft guy up until.
Right.
Like 2018, 2019. Like when they brought the draft to Philadelphia, I became a lot more interested. Like I said, college football doesn't really do well in Philly, so I don't know any of the players or anything like that. I never really took in much of the thought process and stuff like that. So the draft was kind of lost on me until 2017 when all the fanfare came about. And so once I got into that point, then I started to get a little bit more involved. When did you guys start getting interested in the drafts and wanting to know who your team was going to pick? And we can start with Keith here because even though that you're representing Washington, the feeling is the same. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or whatever. So it's not a matter of it's not team specific.
Yeah.
In terms of your thought.
No, my interest in the draft isn't just for my team or a team. I like to see the entire the whole process. And I'll be honest with you, I go back to when it originated, when it was 1980, ESPN first televised the draft.
That's
And
right.
You watch it. It's like you're watching something out of the 50s now. I mean, but Paul Zimmerman was their draft guru then, and it was interesting because you didn't get to see it. I think Sneaky mentioned before, Pete Rozelle, they do it. It wasn't even televised, and guys didn't even know they got drafted until somebody called.
Got the phone call.
Yeah, and it was a new thing. ESPN was brand new at that time.
Yep.
And it was bringing us a world we'd never seen in sports. And sports has changed a lot in general since then. And the drafts obviously have become such a big deal. We talked last week about the NFL and how they do a great job of making themselves a year-round page story. We go from free agency to the draft to the volunteer, the rookie camps, to the OTAs, to preseason. It never ends. This is where we go. Go ahead.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you actually crossed my mind today. I saw a little. No, it was good. It was good. No, you don't owe me any money. I got a little blurb on my ESPN alert, on my cell phone, and it said schedule released. So I'm like, oh my God, already. So I opened it up, and what did it say? May 22nd.
Yeah.
May 12th.
I'm sorry, May 12th. Yeah, May 12th. The schedule would be, and I'm like, that darn Keith, he called this thing like it wasn't. So I just have to say, you crossed my mind that moment when I saw that schedule. Yeah, exactly.
They do a great job, and this was the birthplace of what we're watching today. It was cavemanish back in 1980 compared to today.
Right.
It wasn't even ESPN then. It was NASN, the North American Sports Network.
Actually, a good call. Actually, very good call. It was. And it was the birth of everything that we're watching today.
Yeah.
And so since then, I've had a great interest in watching the drafts. I find them fascinating. Not just the first round. I mean, the entire draft.
Yeah, just the strategies that go play back and forth with these guys, these GMs and these owners. What are they willing to give up to get?
Yeah.
So much so that they have a whole chart to say how much is something worth in comparison to something else.
No, looking at the draft rooms and the shots at the draft rooms and seeing these guys kind of huddled up and going over their strategies again and watching it evolve since 1980 when we did first start to see these things till now.
Right.
It's amazing. I mean, before they were two guys in a room, now there's entire army.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but the Rams or Chargers are renting they're renting a big old home out there on the West Coast with the luxury view and the pool and the whole, they've got the whole setup, and it's just getting to that point where they're trying to see who can one up each other.
Yeah. Well, that's
exactly.
Good. They're spending money. They're keeping the economy rolling. Let me tell you.
I will say for me, so the first year that I actually started collecting football cards, it was 1990. And I remember when I got my very first $10 football card.
Ooh.
To me, I know, right? And it was a Jeff George rookie card out of Illinois. Man, I had that thing, and I mean, so protected because it was $10.
$10.
And so from then on, for me, the draft itself is what got me interested in the college game.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it wasn't for the draft, because the start and finish of Michael Vick, Virginia Tech, and how were they doing the pros? The late great McNair, Steve Aaron McNair, Alcorn State, and there were so many. I mean, the Ryan Leafs, I remember back in the day when it was Rick Meyer and
Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, when they went 1 and 2.
Ourselves couldn't decide who we wanted. That's why we don't let them shop for the groceries, by the way.
Right, exactly. So I think from those days, I'll say from 90 on, I had my little interest in the draft. And I mean, there are times where I'll watch it all the way to the 7th round just to see, who's going to be that surprise pick or like Tom Brady. I remember when Tom Brady was selected Michigan. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I will never forget when they drafted Seneca Wallace before Brady. I was like, of course, it was the Browns. I mean, could you imagine if Brady went to the Browns? If he would have had that same, well, if he, okay, let me ask you guys this. I'm gonna put you on the spot. We see the success that Brady has had with the Patriots and now with Bucks. What if he was selected with the Browns? Would he have had that same type of success?
I think when Belichick was there, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point. But he wouldn't have been drafted when Belichick was there, though. So
correct.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a coach that wanted him. Later passed away. That brought him onto the Patriots. Yeah. So it's funny how everybody's story starts with college and then ends up in the NFL.
There's always a great story that draft day. There's always somebody that's fallen down the board. Those stories are always great. Aaron Rodgers falls down the board. Brady Quinn, all these guys who are supposed to be high draft picks. And I mean, I should be comparing Aaron Rodgers and Brady Quinn.
Right, exactly.
Right. A good combination put together. But it's just it is a great story to watch these things as guys slide and then they take them. They try to they sequester them somewhere so they aren't going to be besieged by
out in public
cameras.
So I just have one question for you, Sneaky. Do you think that card was worth more back then than it is now?
I honestly believe you have to pay somebody to keep that card. Or it might even be worse. You try and sell it, and they just give you, 3 Dallas Cowboy tickets, and you have to keep it. So either or.
Were there any worse quarterbacks than Jeff George who kept getting jobs all over the league, though?
Ryan Leaf kept getting.
No, he didn't. No, he was out.
Not like Jeff George. He played a half the league.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
The only person I could say is Fitzpatrick.
Well, there's and Fitzpatrick's a better. He's a better.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Are we talking attitude, or are we talking, talent?
Yeah. Perfect.
Because if it's attitude, there's nobody worse than George.
No, that's for sure.
Carlos mentioned Hoyer. DeBerg. Well, DeBerg was pretty good when he was in Kansas City, though.
Yeah, he was.
DeBerg was a good quarterback. Yeah, and the right situation, he had some good years.
Yeah, and when I try to think of like quarterbacks that flipped, from team to team to team to team, there's really only a couple that really come to mind. Like Fitzpatrick has played on 1,000 teams. Vinny Testaverde, was able to stay in the league for an awfully long time to never really win anything.
You're forgetting that there's that one kid. I think he's played for 13 teams.
Oh, the one that the Eagles had, and they just played for Houston.
Yeah.
He was in the playoffs.
That blonde-haired kid.
Oh, McNown.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that kid. He was good. I liked him.
Where's Shet? The backup. What was it? Not the Eagles backup from a couple years ago, and then he went over. He's like a backup. He's been backup for like 8 different teams.
Yeah, he went back to the Jets.
Did he? I'm not talking McCown. I'm talking before that. He's a little short guy. He wound up in Kansas City, I think, and not Detmer. Not Detmer.
No, Detmer.
He was more recent. More recent than that.
Mark Sanchez?
No, not Bumble.
What you mean, Flutie? Was it Flutie? Doug Flutie?
No. And I'd have to look it up, like just backup quarterbacks from like a couple years ago.
Castle.
No,
but he did. He did for not starting a college game.
He's still.
Matt
This guy's
Castle had a
still
good
playing.
career.
He's still in the league right now. He's backing up somebody, and he's like 5'8" and he's 135 pounds, and he's still a backup quarterback somewhere.
Charlie, is that Charlie? Oh man,
it's not that important. It is absolutely not that important.
Chase Daniel.
That's him. Thank
there you go.
Yeah.
See, that's why I try to forget those names.
Yeah.
I was getting Charlie. I was like, Chase, Charlie.
You were close.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, McCoy actually traveled. I mean, he's been around the league a little bit as well.
Yeah, he's now in Arizona.
Yeah, from Cleveland to San Francisco.
Redskins.
Redskins, and now the Giants. Well, then the Giants last year, and now Arizona. And I mean, there has to come a time when you're like, I'm tired of moving.
Yeah, actually, you ain't moving. Well, you're just staying in a condo.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
he still lives here in Austin, Texas.
Oh yeah.
But what would you say when you guys think about it? What was your favorite draft?
All-time moment or draft year?
Yeah, draft year. Like, and I'm not talking about you personally. Like, hey, when I went to Nashville, it was the first time I was ever in Nashville for that draft. It was the first time I had ever really gone to a draft. I had been to the one in Philly, but it was not the same type of experience for me. Going to the draft in Nashville was like it was like a VIP experience for me. You know what I mean? And I lived it like a VIP. You know what I mean? I had a blast for that draft. That being said, the drafts that I cared about, before that, I didn't, they weren't the same for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't as exciting. It was that draft that kind of made it. But when I think about drafts for the Eagles, the one draft that stands out in my head more than any other draft is the one where they chose Donovan McNabb.
Oh,
and when they chose Donovan McNabb, they booed him. Or they booed the pick. They didn't boo him. They booed the pick.
No, they booed him. They booed him.
No. They actually booed Reed because they wanted a running back that wound up going to the Miami Dolphins, I think, originally. Ricky Williams. So,
yeah. I think one of my most memorable one was the old Emmitt Smith draft. Back in the day, wearing that suit that he was wearing, that polka dot yellow brown suit. But I think my most memorable would be the Troy Aikman. The whole debacle that he had with Jimmy Johnson at Oklahoma, then jumping back. Now he's jumping back to being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That it doesn't get much better than that.
Well, right. I'm glad you brought that up. Did you believe they could work together, knowing their history?
After hearing Troy and him speak on that, he found it kind of difficult.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was going to work. Even as a kid, I was like, "Whoa, that guy quit that coach at Oklahoma."
Yep.
Now he went back to Cali. Now he's coming back over here as a Dallas Cowboy with this coach.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be interesting.
And then what? He went 0-11 as a starter, right? Or 0-15 or
1-15.
1-15. Oh, but that was the team. But he didn't win a game that season as a starting quarterback.
No, that was a hell of a year.
So this is going to sound, as a Giants fan, I've never been fortunate enough, knock on wood, as of yet, to experience the draft live. Hopefully that'll change in the near future. But as long as I can recall following the draft, I mean, the one draft that stands out for me last year, when we got Thomas, when we got McKinney, when we got to me, Gettleman addressed all our needs in the draft. And that's what I'm about. I don't mind the flashy, the names or whatever, but I like the fact that, let's address our needs and put the product on the field. And I believe that happened. I mean, I'm not going to talk about, I think it was, when we redraft, I think we drafted Eric Flowers for, I think it was 20, it had to been the year before Beckham. And I literally shut off the TV and went to bed. To this day, I can't remember if that was a need, but I was so disgusted with Eric Flowers being selected. No, I'm sorry, that was the year after Beckham.
That was 13.
Yeah, but I mean, we did get Collins. We did get a couple, but just the Eric Flowers, I was not feeling that at all.
I tell you, when I was doing my research, I was finding a lot of people talking about the Giants' sixth pick in the 2019 draft of Daniel Jones, and all of the Giants fans being very unhappy with the pick. I actually did an interview with a Giants fan right before the pick, and the pick was so surprising that I had to go back to him and have a second interview with him to find out how he felt. So literally, there's like a 4-minute interview right before the pick, and then the pick happened, and then I had to go. I'm like, "Whoa, what do you think of that pick?" He's like, "I thought maybe he was a third-round pick."
Right.
So,
the Redskins don't have a history of like having really good deep drafts until you get back all the way back to Joe Gibbs' first go around. I mean, when he was starting to put those really good teams together and drafting the Hogs, he drafted a couple of those guys in the first 2 picks in the early 80s. But more recently, I mean, you've got more Heath Schulers and Michael Westbrooks and
oh my God, Heath Schuler
than you have Mark Mays. I mean,
well, you look at the Washington team. They've got 5 first-rounders all on that defensive line.
Yeah.
Well, now, yeah.
Say, well, how are they so good on defense? Well, there's
yeah.
Well,
now
but they've been doing that for a long time. I mean, you think of Wilkerson. They've had number 1 draft picks as defensive ends for as long as I can remember. Whether they're good or not is a different story. But I mean, they've been choosing. So, but they, that's kind of the logic that I like to go off of, though. Like you need to stack the lines, and that's what you should have in your first round picks.
That goes all the way back to Dexter Manley. I mean, again, I keep going back a long way.
Wow. Yeah,
Dexter Manley was
time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it comes down. It's best player available.
Yeah.
Or position player you need.
And I love the story of Dexter Manley. He had some demons, so he gave his Super Bowl rings to a friend of his, and say, "Hey, if I'm sober, this X amount of years, I think it was, give them back," because he said he wanted to earn them back a second time because he didn't want to pawn them, and he got them back, and that's oh man, I honestly teared up when I heard about him getting his rings back.
Yeah. There's a guy, I think he got himself some education too once he got clean and sober.
Yep.
This is a guy who got all the way through college and could not read and write when he was in the NFL. It's amazing to me that can happen. But
I would say that probably that was more likely to happen then.
Yeah.
Once you got into the machine, the machine was able to move you along, and it didn't matter what it is you did. Underwater basket weaving was an actual college accredited class. And you never sat foot in a pool. You know what I mean? So how you passing that class when you're not ever going underwater and you ain't ever weaving a basket?
Yeah.
So, but that's again, he could play football, and that's the machine. Once the machine had you, it had you. And I think of drafts. I think of the drafts that when I think of the best draft of all time for the Eagles, I think of 2002. You know what I mean? When I looked back and I started to check out all the different drafts, 3 first round, the first and 2 second round picks in the draft were all defensive backs. Lito Shepherd, Michael Lewis, who wound up being a safety, and Sheldon Brown. And with the third round pick, they had 4 picks in the top 100. They got Brian Westbrook.
He might have been the best of all of them now, right?
Sheldon, like Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown were both really good.
Yeah. I liked Westbrook though.
Yeah, Brian Westbrook is still like he don't ever have to buy a beer in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And he talks on sports talk radio too. So hopefully one day maybe I can get him to come on the show.
So every time someone mentions Westbrook, I think of that Colorado-Michigan game with the Cordero Stewart pass at the end of the game. But this is a different Westbrook. This
That's
isn't
Michael Westbrook. Yeah.
That's my yes. Yeah, every time I hear Westbrook, that's the first thing.
So when I think of Brian Westbrook and the New York Giants, I think of the Miracle of the Meadowlands, which would be number 2, the real number 2, not with the proposed number 2, with a minute and a half left to go in the game. And I've got a whole story about that game, because I was stuck on a date. Kayaking in New Jersey in the ocean because you only get off on Sundays and we're going out, and it's like the Eagles Giants, and my brother and I would watch every game together, and every time we watched the game together they didn't lose, so they were winning. So they were actually having a pretty good season, but we were down 7-3. And with a minute and 40 seconds left, or a minute and a half left to go in that game, and they punted the ball to Brian Westbrook. And I called my brother, and I have my uncle in the background who was a 49ers fan, busting our chops because the Giants were beating us. And I get on the phone, and I'm like, yeah, I hear him in the background, SOB, whatever it is he's doing. And then we're watch the punt, and I watch him run it back. And I'm screaming, doing that on the phone, because it was still attached to the wall at the time. We didn't have cell phones back then. And literally very excited that it's one of my all-time favorite plays. The
Giants have a bad history of punting the ball late in games with the Eagles, don't they? Wasn't there another big play with Deshaun?
Anyway, about the draft, I really think we should really go offensive tackle. I think, that sounds like a good pick.
Now, I just loved how Pisarcik fumbled the ball that one time, and then the Eagles took him.
I wasn't born there, but check this out. I will say about the Deshaun Jackson run back. I will say because of him, we won Super Bowl the following Super Bowl that next year. I can't the number skips me right now because of that action. Yeah, no, it wasn't. What?
Yeah, in 2012.
Well, it was a 2011 season. Because we came up with that motto, finish, and we're all in. And, by the end of the season, we were 7-7 after we lost to the Redskins. I'm sorry, the football team. Well, no, back then it was the Redskins.
It was the Redskins.
And then we had to beat, I can't remember. I think it was the Bucks. And then, was it the Bucks? I know we had to beat Dallas. Eventually what it was, in like the NFC East Division Championship game, which I don't understand. I get Romo wanted to play, but he had a broken hand. And in that game, I think it wasn't his throwing hand, but I mean, don't you want to do a
snap hand? Yeah, he threw that. Yeah, he threw those. That last.
You know what I remember about that year for the Giants is, and I don't mean to cut you off, Sneaky, but I do remember. The Giants had clinched the wild card spot, and they still had the Sunday night game at the end of the season against the Patriots.
That was in 2007.
Was it in 2007?
That was 2007. Yeah.
All right.
Because we had beat Buffalo, and the following week, and then, of course, the whole thing, are we going to sit? Because we were already set, and the Patriots were already set. But
unlike going to get undefeated, to be undefeated.
So. Right. And unlike other coaches that preach about winning but lose when it's convenient to them, our coach at the time, Coach Coughlin, I don't remember saying anything about Philly, but since you know or feel guilty about that, anyway, I digress. Coach Coughlin proceeded to wanted to coach his guys to win, which, I mean, I don't believe in moral victories, but in a sense, that game was a moral victory. I mean, Tuck even said after that game, okay, this is the undefeated team, and this is all they got? And I'm like, damn, I never thought of it that way. And then we went on that run. We beat Tampa, and thanks to Jerry Jones already giving the NFC East tickets away before the divisional round even started, which motivated the players the Giants to to do what they did. And I knew Brett Favre would give us one, and then we won the Super Bowl. Good times. Good times.
So I guess,
day.
one of the things that I can also think about when I think of the Giants, I think how Brett Favre actually did that fall right in front of you. Like he went up to, what's his name? Strahan. Gap.
He did. Oh my God!
And went up to him and says, "Hey, listen, don't cheap shot me. I'm gonna let you have it." And then because they weren't getting anywhere near him, he would have never gotten that record. But the Green Packers were winning that game handily, and then he was like, "You know what? I'm going to give it to you." And he does a naked bootleg that he never did all season long, but a naked bootleg that time around, and just happened to fall right in front of Strahan. So all I had to do was touch him, and that was that.
All right. Well, if you admit that your coach gave up that game, I'll admit that Favre gave up a sack. So that's the only way you're gonna get that out of me. If you admit, and I call him, yep. If you admit Doug through that game, week 17, then I may admit, although I don't think so, but I may admit that maybe it was a given sack. But until then, it was a sack. It was called a sack, and it was called a win for the football team. So life goes on.
Listen, let me jump in here for a second. Before we run out of time and get away from drafts, we should talk about guys who slipped through the cracks and never got drafted. I was watching Sneaky G's show last night, and I didn't know that he was a quarterback phenom. And I don't know how he didn't end up in the league. I didn't hear the end of the story. I heard he threw like 15 pounds in one.
No.
How did your career not go further than it went, Sneaky G?
That's a good story. Keith, thank you so much.
Thanks to Zodiac TV for letting me see that last night.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to cut it short. So, and I'll make it real quick. So I'm back home in Service, Arizona. Taking care of family. And I was blessed to, back in 2004, I was blessed to win a championship with a bunch of great guys. And I partnered with Signature Jewelers, and I was able to deliver these championship rings that we all earned during our tournament. So there's the trophy, and it was the Let It Fly tournament 2004. And my position, quarterback number 11, and it was a great time. Keith, I'm glad you got to meet Wayne.
It was fun. That was a fun interview. You did a great job.
Yeah, thank you. We had some good times.
And the chair didn't break.
And the chair didn't break, but the chair before did. So we won't. That's why.
It wasn't sneaky rated.
No,
there wasn't anything sneaky about that chair.
Someone send me that replay.
Right. Yeah. Luckily, we weren't taping. So, in summary, there's going to be a story coming out. And again, thanks to Signature Jewelers to make my dream come true. But this is a good way of showing thanks to the guys that. I mean, Keith, the guy said I was annoying as hell, right? He said I was annoying as hell. That's a true story. That is a true story. I was very persistent. Thank you for bringing that up, Keith.
That's okay. That's great. I didn't catch the part about the rings. I was so enamored with the stories of your career. I didn't understand why I'd never heard of you before.
Like you said,
I mean as a quarterback. I don't mean as a
right. Yeah, it's funny how he says don't judge a book by its cover, and I guess I am the story of that, because people look at me, oh, you're the quarterback, and I'm like, yes, I am. and then I throw a deep ball, and they'll be like, okay, So, like I said, we were able to win one of these and a couple of bowl games, and we were good. It was fun. Thank you, Keith. Thank you.
Congratulations.
There you go. Now you made him all excited. You got to talk about his championship story. In the same show as we were talking about Tom Brady and all the other Super Bowls. So, I mean, that's
Well, we got to rank him in here somewhere between Brady and Heath Schuler.
There we go. So he could have been Mr. Irrelevant, but it wouldn't have mattered.
I could have been a contender. You know? Some of you guys might not know about that, but
so just to let everybody know, next week we are going to be doing. Of course, we're myself and True Blue are going to be on site live in Cleveland. We're going to be doing a 2-hour draft special next week. And one of the things that we're going to try to do is I'm setting up with a bunch of other different teams that are going to stop by. So it's not just going to be NFC East, especially because when you're out at the draft and you're going to be there with the rest of the NFL, you got to let the rest of the NFL come in and start to talk as well. So we're definitely going to be setting up with some other guys. And it's going to be 2 hours next week. We're going to be on from 8 to 10 rather than 9 to 10. So I know that you guys get extra 60 minutes with us. That's going to be absolutely amazing. And we're going to have, like I said, a bunch of different special guests to come on. You might even see me painted up. I don't know. It's going to be a long week of me being painted, but it might actually happen that way, especially since I'll have to talk my counterpart here to my left to also maybe put on and don the hat and the sunglasses so that we could do our show. And I can imagine hopefully Sneaky will be back home. If not, maybe he'll be able to reach out to us from Arizona. Yeah. And we'll see if we could even get maybe a real Washington fan that would even possibly show up to be all excited about it. I know that there's not many of them. So that's why we have Keith, who's doing a fantastic job for that portion.
I can get excited about their pick.
But and then of course Thursday night is the draft, where we're all going to be there for the first round, second and third round on Friday, and then 4 through 7 on Saturday. And I'm going to be doing different things. You want to stay tuned to Northeast Streaming Sports and to Zodiac TV, which is going to go 100% live on Friday the 30th. We're going to be having people coming on. They're going to have a party, a kickoff party, and we're going to be coming on live right from the draft at some point. Of course, me and all my splendor, all painted up and doing the bird dance, getting ready and excited to be on Zodiac TV and such like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
One and done for Zodiac TV. They're going to be on one.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, listen, now once they see me, it's just going to blow up. It goes worldwide. Like that, just like that. There's no louder microphone in the NFL than mine.
I won't debate that.
But anyways, listen, we're coming towards the end of the show. Real quick, does anybody got just want to say goodbye? True Blue, we'll start with you.
Yeah, man, I'm ready for next week. I'll see you guys out there. I'll take you some pictures and text them out so you can upload to your whatever you want.
Absolutely.
But I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see the rest of the fans. It's been a long time. And just ready to see the sights and sounds and see what the NFL has for us this year.
Awesome. Sneaky.
Hey, guys. Thanks a bunch. If you guys send some prayers over my way, it'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, let's go Giants. Ow!
Well, I can tell you that I am tired of mock drafts. I am tired of rumors. I'm ready to get on with the real deal and see how this whole thing shakes out. And you've had my family's prayers coming your way, Sneaky. So
that's right.
Good
Absolutely.
Man.
Same here from me, Sneaky. All the best to you and your family. Again, thank you, everybody from Northeast Streaming Sports at Zodiac TV. We'll be seeing you next week straight from Cleveland. Everybody, have a great night. Thanks again. Go.